So Bharat, any response from Praveen? Is he joining?
No, I mean, he initially message like it will take 10 minutes. I think we can start maybe in another 5 minutes. He will join.
Okay, cool. So if there are no questions from the previous lab, then what we'll do is we'll start with the new connector today. That is the CSV connector. So let me share my screen. Please let me know if my screen is visible.
Yeah, it's good.
So basically, this is the one identity demo session only. So over here, we will be working on the new sync project, that is the CSV connector. We'll see that how it works and what all things we have available over here to work on. So before doing that, what we'll do is we are going to create a CSV file. Please stop me wherever you require any assistance with. Okay, or you have any questions, please stop me. So I'll create a CSV file mentioning few of the things over here, like first name, comma, last name, and then we can put number, we can put manager, but manager, I think that would be not possible over here. So we'll put first name, last name, number, we can put city, we can put department. Okay, now
Yeah,
let's
yeah, this we already shared, right?
please mute yourself. Yep, thanks. Now let's add some of the values over here. Okay, so now we have added the headers over here. Okay, first name, last name, number, city, and department. And then I've added a few records over here. So now what we'll do is we'll save it, save as, and over here I'll mention CSV. Let's do one thing. Okay, we will save it on anywhere. We can save it on desktop. Okay, now once I have saved it, now let's come back to our sync editor tool. In the sync editor tool, we'll click on the same way that we created yesterday. We'll click on this start a new sync project. Next. Okay, so we have these many connectors over here. So as I mentioned yesterday also, that as you move to the higher environments, you will be able to see a lot of new connectors over here. So you can see that we have other connectors as well, like Exchange, Microsoft generic database, LDAP, Microsoft Entra ID, SAP connector, okay, Unix connector. So similarly, what we'll do is we'll select our CSV connector over here, click next. So we don't have this file available in a different system, we have it in the same server. So we will not select this option, click next. So it is asking me that you want to create a new CSV system or you want to open an existing system CSV system file. So CSV system file over here doesn't mean that you have an existing file that we created. It is something that is recognizable by one identity. So currently the file that we have created is not recognizable by one identity. It becomes recognizable once we create the CSV system, then it becomes recognizable. Okay, so we cannot use the second option, we will use the create new CSV system. Now we'll click next and we'll select our file, that is employee.csv, open. Okay, now it will ask me that what is the file encoding time, language, on uniqueness, violation, read only access. So all these details are over here, you can fill this up. It is automatically picking up by default features, so we will just let it be. Click next. Now it is asking me how many header lines are there and how many fixed lines, column names, inline, so everything. So I'll just select one because we just have one header line over here. Then it is asking me that how do you want to detect it. Like there are two ways, one is delimiter and the another one is fixed width. So delimiter means that if there is any comma separation or semicolon separation, so we'll use delimiter. If it is by a fixed width means that they have a single space in between all of them, so we would have selected fixed width. Okay, so we'll select delimiter over here because we have comma separated values. Click next. Now it is asking me that what is the delimiter. It is comma, it is semicolon, it is a space, tab, pipe, or whatever. Okay, so you can define it over here. Text wrap character, you can also select a text wrap character. If there is a text wrap character, you can select it from here. Okay, so as you can see that we have selected this comma over here. So this is, or obviously it is baked in this particular form: first name, last name, number, city, department. Okay, now we'll click next. Now it is asking me display pattern of row ID. You want to change the row ID pattern or something. So this can be something that we can leave it as it is. So row ID will be this. So row ID is required for the hash function. So to perform, like if there are multiple records, to perform the hash system in this migration, this row ID is required. So we'll just keep it as it is. Click next. Then it will ask me the system. So as I told you that once you use it, it will create a new system. So see, this is the place where it is creating a new system. You can see CSV SYS. So that is something that is recognizable by one identity. So next time when you will use it, you can use this existing system. Okay, so this is the new system that it is going to create. Okay, System properties, we don't have any additional system properties, so we can leave it. And you can see successfully completed. Okay. So I'll click on save connection locally and finish.
Yeah, I have one doubt here.
Yes.
Whenever if we make any changes into the CSV source file, like something
Yes.
we added the department use or some other things, will it automatically pick up or do we need to then again connect?
No, no. See, this is something like, suppose just imagine CSV system that you have created as a HR database system. Okay, so HR will daily push some data into that CSV system, like they will add some new values or else they will update the values. So based on the sync project that you have created, so there is something called you have scheduled it, right? So based on the schedule, it will run automatically on the given schedule, and automatically it will fetch the new values, whether it is insert, update, or delete. It will fetch those values and put those values into the person table.
So have you created here the schedule thing?
No, no, we are just starting it. So we
Okay,
have
okay.
not yet got that.
Thank you.
So now when we'll click next, it will ask me the display name, what you want to enter for this. Okay, so we can mention employee. Scripting language you can mention Visual Basic .NET or C Sharp. So basically this is required if you are using any um, scripting part inside the connector, like to control the flow of data or to limit the data. So if you're using anything, you can use Visual Basic .NET or you can select C Sharp over here. Then we'll click next, finish. Okay, so you can see that this is something. If I scroll down, okay, yet it is not saved. So let's first do this. So now you can see that yesterday when we created the Active Directory project also, so similar things we saw, that one identity manager connection, target system, variables, startup configuration, script, base mappings, workflows. So everything similar is created for our this employee connector also. Okay. Now if I click on one identity manager connection over here, okay, and click on edit connection, or else we can just see if it is working fine or not. I think we'll have to do the edit connection. Click next. Direct database connection. Next. So automatically it is taking the server database server name, then the user and the password, and this is the data. Encryption is mandatory as it is taken by default. Okay. We'll test the connection. So database connection was successfully established. Okay. Click next. Private key is not required. Click next. Try to ignore data errors. We'll not select this.
Why do we need the private key? That what could be the
See, private private key is something that when I told you about the installation part on the second day, so I told you that there are few, like most of the organizations, what they do is they encrypt the database. Okay. So when you are installing the database for the first time, one identity manager database, so the database is encrypted. So when the database is encrypted, we receive a private key at the end. Okay, that private key is something that I told you that we will be saving it somewhere in the CyberArk or any password vault that we are using, so that in future if the database goes wrong or any thing happens, we can use that private key to decrypt. Okay, so similarly over here also, to encrypt the data, so that if we are using the read and write operation for our one identity manager database, the data, only the required data can be seen by the target system, not everything should be seen. So that is why we are using the encryption and we are using the private key.
thank you.
Yeah. We'll click next over here and we'll click finish. The system connection was modified successfully. Okay. Now the second step of doing after this is, after edit connection, is that we need to update the schema. Schema updation is required for the reason that there might be a chance that you have made some changes to the schema of person record, or on the target side also there is a possibility that the owner of that, like suppose HR has added a new column into the CSV employee CSV system. He has added parent contact number. Okay, so that will not be recognized by one identity, or that will not be picked up by one identity unless and until you hit that update schema. Okay, so then only it will understand that there is a schema change over there. Now let's click on browse. So browse will give you all the different tables that we have. So you can see that all these tables have been loaded into our one identity manager schema. Okay, in the setup we can go and we can select connection is read only, or obviously retries count. So we'll create this log over here, select these 3-4 things, click OK. Similarly, now we'll go to target system. Target system also we'll do the same thing, edit connection. So you can see it is already picked up, so no need to do that. Now we'll just click on update schema so that it picks up everything that is there in the employee.csvs. Okay, now we'll browse the data. If we browse the data, you can see that we are getting this employee all, and we are getting this data over here. So basically it is taking the row ID. Okay, if we would have put anything else over there, so it would have shown that detail instead of the row ID. So we selected the row ID, so that is why 1 2 3 it is showing the row ID over here. Okay, now we can just close this thing. The setup of database is done. Okay, now if we click on the variables, so there is no variable at the moment because our CSV system does not require any credentials to connect to. So that is why there are no variables over here. If you want to add some variables, you can definitely add that. Suppose the CSV file is password protected, so obviously you will need the username and password, so you can add those values over here. Okay, then we come to the startup, or else first let's go to mappings. Okay, so you can see that mappings is also something that is not created automatically. So we'll have to create the mapping. We'll click on this plus icon over here. Give it a name, employee mapping direction.
This
We can
mapping
set.
with what mapping? Since
Mapping is the mapping between the columns and the attributes of both the tables. So we'll just see that what is mappings.
oh, thank you.
Now, mapping means that we are trying to map two tables, one from one identity manager database and one from the target system database. So from the one identity manager database, obviously we want that the data that we have picked up should go to the person table. Okay, so I'll select the person table over here. Okay, now from the target schema, because there is only one table, that is the employee all that we have created, so that would be selected. So now what we have done is we have just created a mapping named employee. The mapping direction is both directions. One identity manager table that we have took is person, and the target system table that we have taken is employee. Click OK over here. Now it will open the mapping wizard. So mapping wizard will give us the view that which attribute of person table will you like to map with which attribute of target system table. Okay, So here we begin the mapping. So there are two options. One is specify how the wizard creates rule. Create mapping rules dynamically based on similarity. Create rules based on template. So basically two ways. One is that first option, what it will do, like the file that we have created over here, the CSV file, you can see the names of the columns are first name, last name, number, city, and department. So based on the similarity, like if the person tables also has the similar kind of attribute names, first name, last name, or department, whatever, so it will automatically map those values. Okay, you don't need to do anything. Second is create rules based on template. So if you have created any rules, so based on those rules or schema types, it will map the ones. So we'll select create mapping rules dynamically based on similarity. Click next. Now it is asking me the level of algorithm you want. So if I put the algorithm as high, so what will happen that if the first name from my, like in my this thing, it is first name, okay, and in person also it is first name, then it will map it. But suppose over here I have number and over there it is mobile number, so it will not match it. Okay, it will say the complexity, if it is very high, then it will exactly match the same thing. If exact match is found, then only it will select, otherwise it will reject it. Okay, and if we compare it to low, then low is also something that if it is not matched, it will not fix. So we'll keep it in the middle only, and we'll click next. Now you can see that what it has done based on whatever we have selected. So there is a column in our person table called city. So this city that we have created in our CSV file is matched with that city. We have a column called company member, so it is trying to match it with this number. However, it doesn't look good, so it is already saying moderate and it is not selection. First name has matched first name, which is precise. Last name has matched last name, which is precise. UID department, because obviously department is not directly created in the person, we have the UID department, so this is also moderate. And then X rate, X user inserted row ID, it is weak, so we are not going to use this one. So now what we'll do, because obviously this one is incorrect, right? So number, okay, let's do one thing. Let's click the next button, and in the next phase we will select the other attributes. So currently what it will do, it will only select these three things: selection, first name, and last name. It will not select any other things in the mapping. Click next, finish. So you can see that only these three things have been picked up by the wizard. Okay, so now what you are seeing on the left side, as I told you yesterday also, on the left side we will be having the person table from the one identity manager database, and on the right side we will be having employee all, that is the target database system. Okay, so this is the table from target system, and this is the table from our one identity manager system. Any questions on this before we proceed further?
No, we are good.
Okay, so now city is mapped to city, first name is mapped to first name, last name is mapped to last name, that is fine. Now I want to tag my department. Okay, obviously UID department and department cannot be tagged directly, so we will have to write some code over here to map them. We'll have to create a VRT attribute that will match the department that is mentioned over here. If that is matched, then it will only pick up. So instead of that, what we'll do is we'll assign it a different record. So let's assign department with spare field. So what I'll do, I'll click on add rule. Rule name will be department. Okay, and I'll select it as to one identity manager.
Is it recording, right, this session? Because I just want to make sure.
Yeah, it's getting recorded.
Okay.
Okay, now it has come. So we'll select a property from here, a schema property from the person table. So I'll select spare field number. We can select any one of them. And from here, we'll select department. Okay. Okay, so you can see there is a new one. Now, obviously for others also, I don't want the synchronization or provisioning boot to happen. I only want to fetch the data from the target system. I don't want to push data to the target system. So instead of both directions, I'll just select towards one identity manager. That means we only want to sync data from target system into our system. Same thing, we'll do it for this one also. We'll just select towards one identity manager. So the data is only pulled, not pushed. Okay. Now there is one more important thing. So what we have to do is we'll select this number. That is fine. Okay. But we have to provide one, you know, primary mapping rule. So primary mapping rule is something that we need to assign to this particular thing. So primary rule will be that we, like in when we are using the SQL, we have something called distinguished key, or we have primary keys, right? Similarly, the primary mapping rules is something that you can define as distinguished, which can act as a primary rule. Okay. So here we can select what we have: central user account, company car, personal number. I think we can use personal number. So let me see if it is. Just have a look to this also, that currently we have only 158 records in our person table. Okay, so personal number. Okay, so I think we can use personal number, or if it is already being used, we can do it by phone mobile. Okay, and obviously the phone mobile would be different for all the users, so we can use it as the primary mapping rule also. Okay, so we'll come back over here and add a new primary rule. Rule name would be um, mobile. Description is not required. Schema, we'll select mobile phone from here, and over here we'll select number. Okay, so this is our primary rule. Then we'll add this over here also. So above one is the mapping rule, that how you want to map it. Just give me a minute. Guys, just give me a minute, I'll be back. Okay, so where were we? Yep. So basically, whatever we provide on the upside is the mapping rule, that this should be primary condition on which it should be considered. And below, when we are moving, when we are defining, so this is the property, that how do you want to map it. Okay. So we'll put the mobile over here again. Put the schema property again, mobile phone, and direction would be again towards one identity manager. Here we'll pick the number again. Okay. Okay, so it is saying that already something, so we have given the rule, so we can give it a name, mobile number. Okay, so now you can see what we have done is we have given a basic primary rule over here, that which should be like differentiating factor for all the rules, for all the records. Then we have mapped city with the city of target system, our spare field number 3 with the department, first name with first name, last name with last name, mobile phone of one identity manager attribute with number of target system attribute. Okay, so this completes our mappings. So mappings is completed. Now we'll come to workflows. Okay, so workflows also we need to create manually. Okay, we can use this wizard to create a new workflow, or you can add it manually. So let's use this wizard. Display name we can give initial sync. Next, so it is asking that which table it should be, so it is automatically selected as employee. Use revision filter, that only the updated or changed things should be picked up, so we are using use revision filter. Next, now it is asking me that what should be the methods used. Database method, define processing method for objects that exist on in both connected systems. Specify whether the one identity manager database or target system should be updated or for each mapping if the object properties have changed. So what it is saying, that if the data on both the connected systems is same, okay, define the processing methods for object that exists in both connected systems Specify whether one identity manager database or target database should be updated for each mapping if the object properties have changed. So we'll put update. Sorry, we will not do anything on the target system. We will update over here, but target system would be left alone because obviously we don't want to do anything in the target system side. Next. Now define which processing methods for objects that only exist in target system. Okay, so if it is only existing in target system, we want it to be inserted. So we'll mention this as insert object. Okay, target system again we will leave blank because we don't want to do anything on the target system. Next, define which actions to carry out for objects which only exist in one identity manager. So that means that if the database has the existing records like 158 records, so those 158 records are directly created by us. Okay, they are not coming from the target database or they are not from the HR database. So in that case, organizations, what they do is that they mark them as outstanding. But in our case, we will not do it because this is one identity demo session. So obviously the records, 158 records, they have created for themselves also only. So we will not remove them. Okay. So we have this option as mark as outstanding or remove. Okay. So delete. So we will not do any action. We will not take any action on the database also and not on the target system also. Click next and finish. Okay. So now you can see this workflow is created, initial sync. Okay. And this is the, one second. And this is my employee record. So if I click on edit, the same thing that we saw yesterday in the processing, we will see that because it is a sync project, so everything will be present over here, not over here from one identity to target. So everything is do nothing. From sync editor, from target system to one identity, when we are pulling the data, objects only found in the target system are inserted. Objects only found in one identity manager, we have done nothing. Object with modified properties, remove deletion flag and update object. Okay, so this is something that is we have done. So this creates our mapping we have created. We have created the workflow. Now we will come back to the configuration. Okay, and create a startup configuration. So this is the thing that you were asking, that if there is any update or something, then we'll have to connect again and again to that CSV system. No, we will just create a connection detail over here. Okay, so I'll give it a display name, initial sync workflow. So we'll select the workflow that we have created, initial sync. Synchronization direction, whatever is mentioned in the workflow. Revision filtering already defined in the workflow. Schedule, so this is the schedule which you have to select. You want it to run daily, you want it to run weekly, you want it to run half yearly, whatever you want, you can select it over here. Okay, so suppose I select I think most of them are deactivated. We can do one thing. If it is not there, we can leave it blank. Okay, obviously we don't want to run it on the daily basis. Then over here, variable set, as I discussed yesterday. So variable set is something that if we have created specialized variable sets like dev, UAT, stage, prod, or for any other domain, then you can select the variable set. So we have not created any variable set, so we can just select the default variable set. Or else if you leave it blank, then also it will take the default variable set only. Okay, click OK. So this creates our startup configuration as well. So now we have completed the one identity manager connection. We have completed the target system. So obviously there is no change that will be done on the target side. So we don't require the synchronization logs for the target system. So we are only doing the sync, so that logs will be created over here. So we can leave it blank. So we have seen one identity manager connection, we have seen the target system, we have done the variables, the startup configurations we have created the mappings, we have created the workflow. Now the last thing is base objects. So base objects, as I told you yesterday, so this is an important thing. If you don't have a base object, your sync will not run. So base object is something that where you need to select the table, okay, that which table and which object it should take as the synchronization object. If you don't want anything, you can just select synchronization has no base object, okay. You can just select the base table. So base table is person, and obviously then the synchronization server, that is the job server. So you need to select the job server, okay. So they have selected two job servers. One is dedicated to AD. If you are working on the AD connector, then you will select this. If you are working on any other thing, you can select this IAM server, okay. Variable set, again, if you have any variable set, you can select it over here and click OK. So this has created our person record. This has created our base object. So now whatever we have done, this completes our creation of the sync project. Okay, now we have done all these things. We need to come to our start page and activate the project. Okay. Any questions, anything anyone wants to ask?
Before activate project, we can do verify project also, right? What would be the thing?
Yeah, verify project is used to see if there are any errors or issues that have been accumulated. So verify project will tell you if there are any issues or errors. So once you verify, you can activate the project. That is
Abhinay,
it.
we are already mentioning those fields, everything in target system, startup configuration, variables everywhere, right? Again, why do we need to create a base object?
Sorry, could you repeat, please?
See, the columns which we need to map, the table, everything we have already mentioned in variables and the target system place. Everywhere we have done, right? In first steps,
Yes.
the extreme left, we have already done. Why do we need to add the a person table again under base object?
See, base object is something that is set mandatory by the one identity when you are creating a new connector. Okay. The reason behind it is that suppose if you have multiple, you have multiple different tables where you want to push the data, or you have multiple target systems. Like currently, we only have the single CSV system, but you have another employee one, employee two target systems where you might get data from. So in that case, you will have to select the table, sorry, and you will have to select the table. You will have to select the base object, that what would be the base object for this particular thing. So that is the reason it is having this as a mandatory thing. If you don't use a base object, you won't be able to save or run the synchronization.
Okay.
Okay, so now once we have completed this, let's check our project. So I'll go to startup configurations and click the run button. Yes, synchronization was successfully started. Okay, now we'll open the job. So you can see this is our sync project that is running. Okay, it has went to a frozen state. It is saying that the file is not found. C users administrator desktop employee dot csv system. I think there might be some permission related issues. Let me check. I can see all the three kind of users have full control over this. Or it might be a possibility that it is not picking up because we were having it open. So I just closed it now. Let's do one thing. If it is failing over there, let's simulate over here and see what it does. So simulation is similar to the running the checks to see that what will happen. If you are not sure that whether your sync will have all the necessary things or not, you can just click on the simulate button and see what simulation does. Okay, so simulation is working properly. Person insert 3 records and 3 records are getting added. So that means there is no issue with our connector. The connector is working fine. Might be there are some issues, permission issues that are there. Let's rerun the sync and check. However, okay, it has again gone into the frozen state. Same issue, C users administrator desktop employee.csv, file not found. C users administrator desktop. I think the file is put in the proper place, but might be the account is not able to look for it or is not able to fetch it. Let's do one thing. Let's move it to a different location and see. Otherwise, we can just rely on the simulation that how it is looking like. So I'll put it inside the users. IAM admin. Can copy this path, come back to our sync project, target system, edit connection. Okay, open existing CSV file system. Now here we'll select our C drive users, IAM admin, employee.csv sys, open, next, save connection locally, finish, update schema. You can click on the browse to see again that if it is fetching the values correctly or not. See users, why is it still fetching from the old path? Okay. So I believe there is some it's still seeing in the wrong path. Let's rerun the sync, otherwise we'll have to rely on that only, the simulation. Okay. So I think due to some issues with the permissions and all, it is not able to fetch that. Otherwise, we can just rely on this simulation result that says that it would have been inserted into the person table as soon as we have initiated the sync. We could also see the logs over here. Okay, so we ran it 4 times, and all 4 times it got into an error. So it will show you the errors also. And if it would have been completed, then it would have shown you that these are the 3 inserts or something like that. Okay, so there is a file not found exception. However, the file is being fetched by the system when we are running the simulation, but it is not working on the actual runtime. Okay, so this is the kind of report you would have received if the insert would have happened, that 3 persons inserted and this data. And obviously your table, one identity manager person table, would have been populated with all these new employee data. All right, any questions, anything on this?
No, nothing.
I would request you all to make this a little interactive session. So if you have anything, any queries or anything, if you are already working on it, you can ask any questions.
So can you share the this thing logins for the VDA? So, is it done? The instance?
No, so I think I mentioned in the starting of the meeting, there is one issue with the One Identity Manager lab, and I connected with the One Identity Manager team also. So they mentioned that they are not supporting the 8.1 version anymore, and all the higher versions 8.2 and 9, they are all enterprise versions, so we cannot receive the license for them. So unfortunately we'll have to use this particular thing only, that is the demo session.
Then
So
how do we
they,
practice then?
yeah, you can open this session on your own, and obviously the daily wise whatever we are doing, you can create your own things and you can work on it.
Where
So I,
in your session?
sorry, no, not in my session, in this demo lab only.
So which identity access management provides that demo thing, right?
Yeah, this One Identity Manager free version, right? So this free version is working on 9.3, which is the mostly the latest version. So they have told that they have all the capabilities available over here, so you can work on this also.
I don't think so. How it is going to be work out? No.
Sorry.
Because that is completely set up and there are multiple. Everything is ready, right? So we need to just only do the R&D. That's all on that.
No, you can start from beginning also. See, nothing is built over here. The things that I told you, that creation of new process, new scripts, that are not existing over here, right? You need to create it. You need to fetch it. The third session where I showed you that how to create a new this thing, create a new service item, create a new ESET, and how we create approval workflow. So that is something that you can create. Okay, that is the first time I also created over there, right? The ones they have created are all the out of the box things. They have not created any custom things. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, but I'm not happy with that. I don't know. Then let me see. Let I just think about it, because let's see how it goes.
So basically, most of the trainings are provided on this platform only, as mentioned by the One Identity team. They mentioned that because of the fact that only the enterprise versions are something that they are encouraging at the moment. They are not encouraging any unlicensed versions of One Identity. So the practice labs and everything works on the unlicensed versions, right? We cannot have the enterprise version for them. So that is the reason they are not giving any support on that. And they have mentioned that you can use the demo version for that.
But the demos we can use anytime, always, right? It's not like anything. At whatever pace, we can try.
Could you repeat that, please?
The demo thing is we can use anytime or whenever we want. It's nothing like that. So that.
Yes, yes. The demo lab is something that you can use anytime.
So what about the documentation, with the technologies documentation? So which, because if you want to do something, if you want to practice something, so do we need to see always into the video sessions which are recorded, then how we can move forward?
No, no. See, by tomorrow you will be getting the use case document. I'll be sharing the use case document where you will get the all the use cases that we have done, and over there you will get to know that how step by step you have to work on that. The screenshots won't be provided, but the steps that how you have to open the designer tool, then go to this particular thing, that particular thing, that will be provided to you by tomorrow.
Okay, we'll wait for that,
And
because this is not a simple thing, right? There are multiple lines, or there are deep and deep procedures. So for you it will be easy. For us, while looking at it, it's very simple, but when we are touching the system, it's quite challenge. So that is the reason we need a right path.
see, I'll tell you what we have been doing from the previous sessions. Like, I have been taking multiple trainings, and the way we have been doing it is that we have 5 sessions in a week, and each session was about of 4 hours. Okay. So first, what I'll do is that I will create a CSV connector like the way I have shown, and then I will give some time to all the other people to create the system CSV system on their own. Okay. So once they create it, they will they will also get the knowledge that how they are creating and how they are doing it, and if they have any issues they will ask it on that time only. So that is the reason I have been asking multiple times that whenever we are connecting, the first half an hour should be something that where you should be asking questions of what we discussed, and if there are any issues or something. So that is why I asked that same thing.
So we were waiting for that instance. That's the reason we didn't touch. So I need to see then how the demos. Let me, I'll just do it today itself only. How it goes. I'll update you my feedback on that.
Okay. Okay. Sure. So, any questions or anything on this connector? Okay. So, if there is nothing else, we will proceed with the next topic of the day, that is creation of a new process on the designer tool. Okay. So we already saw how the script works in one identity yesterday. So today we'll see that how the process works on the one identity manager and what is the requirement of a process. So we'll come over here, and in here we'll open the designer tool. Okay. Now in the designer tool, we have already seen the one identity manager schema. We have seen the permissions. Now comes our next topic, that is process orchestration. Okay. So process orchestration, what is the requirement of processes and why do we need processes? Processes are something like there are multiple inbuilt processes that are already out of the box processes present in one identity. So you can open it from here. Okay. So you will be able to see all these are the existing processes that already run in the background. So whenever you are doing anything on the person record, whenever you are touching anything in the ADS, whenever you are doing anything, it is creating a particular process, or any particular process is running in the background. Okay. So these processes work for different things. Okay. So a process could be anything like creation or multiplication, whatever you can create, you can do from a process. You can run a script from a process, you can run a insert query from a process, you can write a file from a process. Okay. You can run a API call from the process. So a process can do a lot of things. Okay. If you have a if you have created a third party application, so you can connect to that third party application using the API call via a process. Okay. So process can do multiple things. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll create a new process. So as you can see, I came over here to process orchestration, and over here I clicked on custom process. So there are three custom processes already available. One is created on ADS account, one is created on person, and one is created on person want person wants org table. Okay. So what we'll do is we are going to create a process on the person wants org table. Okay. And see how it can be triggered. So I'll click on this manage procurement request and click over here. Click over here on the top where it says insert a new process. So I'll click on this insert a new process. So when you create a new process, there are certain things that you need to mention over here. Okay. So first is the name of the process. So whenever you are creating a custom process, make sure you are using the terminology. So most of the companies use this CCC and the name. Okay. So whatever the name you want to give. So first you need to mention CCC and then you give the name. So suppose I gave the name CCC person wants org order granted SA. Okay. So this is the name of the process that I have given. Now you need to select the table, that on which table do you want to apply this process on. So I will select person wants org. Then you can provide the description. Then there are two very important things over here in the process. First is the prescript for generating, and second is the generating condition. So prescript for generating means that whenever you are running a particular process, if you have to define some variables, okay, that would be used across or throughout your process. Like a process could be a one-step process, a process could be a 100-step process also. Okay, so if you have to define variables that can be used in any of the required process steps, like if I have created one process step 2 300, so if you want to use in any of those process step the things, you can just pick it up from here. Okay, so basically prescript for generating is something where you calculate the things. If you want to calculate a few things, like you want to fetch data from ADS account, then you want to add something to it, then you want to do something to it, so you can do all those things over here. Okay, so this is the place where you type the prescripts, like the variables. The second thing is very important, that is the generating condition. Okay, generating condition is something that whatever condition you put over here, if it is satisfied, okay, if the generating condition is satisfied, then and only then the process will be running. Okay, so process will only run if this generating condition is satisfied. Okay, so what we can do is, suppose I open this, okay, and I put a dollar sign over here. So if I put a dollar sign, what will happen, that it will show me all the fields, all the attributes that are there in the person wants org table. Why? Because we have selected the person wants org table. Okay, so if I select $UID underscore person head, so the way it works is that I'll type the query in the way, if UID person wants person head is not null, then value is equal to true. Else value is equal to false. So what does this mean? So one identity picks up this value, like it considers this value, whatever is the value, is it true or false? Based on that only it will decide that it has to run this process or not. So if the person head value is null, okay, then value is true. Okay, if it is not null, if it is null, if it is not null, then it is true. If it is null, then it will be false. So this is the generating condition. So this is a very small thing that I have written over here. Like entire scripts, you can call entire scripts, you can write a lot of code, you can fetch a lot of data over here, calculate it, differentiate it, check it that if it is the required format or not. If it is all working, then you can see that value is true or else the value is false. Based on this only your process will work. Okay, so suppose I put it over here and click save. Next thing that comes and that is very much required over here is the event. Okay, so whenever you are running the process, there should be an event that will trigger this process. So without event, the process is nothing. So there should be an event that will trigger the process. So if I click on this insert over here, and we can use any existing ones, person wants org. So we have this order granted event. Okay, so what it will do, that as soon as the order, like suppose I am the end user and I have requested a particular thing from the front end, my ID portal. Okay, from the my ID portal I have requested a particular thing. Now as soon as I request it, it will go for the approvals, right? And if the approvals are done, like all the things are approved and the item is assigned to me, then this order granted event is triggered. So as soon as this order granted event is triggered, what will happen, that the particular process that is linked to this event will be triggered. Okay, so now we have completed this first step of the process. The second step is very important. I'll click new. Okay, now the second step is something, see, the first step of process is something where we define the table, that on which table it has to be executed, then like what event it will be triggered on, the generating condition, the pre-script thing. So this is the first step. The second step could be anything. Second step could be anything means that you can run a script from here. You can make it a file transfer protocol. You can call the APIs. You can call an event from here. Okay. So second step can do anything. So based on the requirement that you have from the organization or whatever you are working on, the enhancement, you need to create the step on basis of that. Okay. So suppose I want that I go to this process step properties and I make it as script execute. Okay, so what it is going to do, it is going to run the script. So it will not happen only with the name. So there is an option over here called process task. So process task has multiple things. Okay, there are thousands of things that you can do from here. Okay, so as I told you in the, I think, second session, that these things will not, are not covered anywhere in the documentation from One Identity or anywhere One Identity has provided these documentations. This is something that you will learn only and only with practice. So if I open AD component, you can see there are things that you can do from AD component, like add member, clean up other SID, delete member, maintain other SID. Similarly, if I open any file component one, so you can do a lot of operations from here, like add file access, delete file access, desize, okay, exists. So a lot of things are over here. We even have a delay component. Suppose that you want to delay, like there is another process in the second step and you want that, you know, that that second step for insertion and updation will require 1 or 2 minutes of time. So you can even insert a delay component in between those two steps, saying that wait for 2 minutes or wait for 5 minutes. Once it has waited for 5 minutes, then it will proceed to the next step. Okay, so there are a lot of things that you can do. Similarly, for a script component, you can select a script component, and here we have script execute. So script execute is something that will execute the script whatever name you have provided. Okay, so whatever you select over here in the process task, based on that, certain parameters are there, mandatory parameters that you need to fill. So as you can see, because I have selected the process task as script component, script execute, I need to select this script name over here. Okay, if I select any other thing over here, like suppose if I select log component, event log. Okay, so now the parameters will change. Now you can see the parameters are category name, number, entry type, event ID, log, source. Okay, similarly, if I select any other thing over here, suppose I selected SQL component and it is exists. Now again, if I go to parameters, you can see the things have changed. It is asking the table name and it is asking the where clause. So what will happen, that if we are using the SQL component exists, so it will see that whether in this table the name that you have provided and the where clause you have provided, if the records exist with this where clause. If it exists, then it will move to the next step from here, whatever you have added from this green sign, or else it will go to the this state error. Okay, so in our case we are going to select SQL component. We are going to select this script component, script execute. Okay, once we have selected this, the next task that we have to do is we'll click on the generation. Okay, so obviously generation also is something that over here also you can put the pre-scripting, over here also you can put the generating condition, but most probably that you have to enter is the server function, that where it should work. Okay, so it should work on the Active Directory connector, it should work on the CSV connector, it should work on the SAP R3 connector, where this particular step should work. So in our case, it will work on the SQL processing server, because we are using an inbuilt thing of the one identity as that is the script component. So it will run on the SQL serving processor. So we have used it. Now the next thing that we need to add over here is the parameters. We need to provide the name of the script. So script is something that we have not yet created in this environment, in this demo lab. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll use a existing script. So let's use any table, any script. It won't do anything because we are just doing it for the testing purpose. Let's use this one. So we just need to copy the name from here, Control C, and we need to put it in our process. So over here it is given in the way that value is equal to, and you need to put the values in this way. So what we have given that the script name is this. So whenever this process will execute, it will execute this script. Okay, now you can see both the things are in blue color. So blue color means that you have completed all the mandatory things that are required. Now there is one more important thing that you need to map, is if I click on this second step, and in the second step we have something called error handling. Okay, so this error handling thing is used for that. Suppose you have created this process and this process is triggered, and you are able to see it in the job queue. Okay, once it is processed, what will happen, that suppose if there is any error or any issues that come into this step, it will still not show you the error, and it will go into the process history without even telling you that there has been error or some issue has been occurred in this step. So for that, what we do is we do the error handling. Error handling is done by, like, you click on this wait mode on error. Okay, so if there is any error in the script execution or something, you have clicked on this wait mode on error. You can put the latency. Latency could be any minutes, like 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute. Okay, so let's put 2. And retries means that how many times it should retry. So if we put over here 3, that means that in every 2 minutes it will again try to reuse the particular process or restart the process If on the third time or the third attempt it doesn't work, so you need to provide the mode that even if on the third time it doesn't work, what you want to do, you want to ignore the errors or you want to stop on error. So if I click on stop on error, what will happen that now once the job has got frozen on the first time, it retried for 3 times in the latency of 2 minutes each. If it is still not working as expected, it will show in the job queue as frozen. The way it is showing over these two jobs as frozen, it will remain over here until and unless any manual intervention is done. Okay, so that is the way we do the error handling. Log errors to general means that whatever the error comes, so you will log those errors to the log file. Log mode also you can select that what kind of log you want. The full logs. Full logs means that everything whatever the backend is trying to do with this particular job, you want everything to be recorded in the logs, or you just want the error to be logged in into the logs. So you can select that option over here. Okay, so we will select this stop on error. Okay, now yesterday I told you that there is a very important thing, that is when you click on commit to database, so all these changes will come, right? Whatever the changes you have done to the you have created a new process, you have created this parameter and everything, so all these things will come. Now over here you have the option to select a change label. Okay, so I'll select this button over here, click on add, and add a change label named change underscore one. Save. Okay, and now I can keep it open. Like if I click on this, use the current change label as default and select automatically later. So if I select this, what will happen that again and again I don't have to select this change. Whatever the change I will do, I'll click on commit to database and automatically it will pick this change label, that is changes one. If I remove this, what will happen that again and again I'll have to come and select the change label. Okay, so if I pin this bar, so automatically anything I save, it will automatically save to this change label. Okay, now we have created this process. Okay, we have added this script to it. Now what we'll do is we'll compile the database. So click on database, compile, next. Meanwhile, it is compiling. Anything anyone wants to ask? Guys, any questions? Anything?
Mm, no.
We know regarding the documentation that you are going to provide us tomorrow. So that will be like session wise or how it will be? Like
So
tools.
it will be having the use cases like the ones we discussed, like we created the service item, published it, created the approval workflow, approval policy, and
Okay.
then we worked on creation of the Active Directory project. Okay.
Okay.
So these kind of use cases will be there with the steps that how we need to perform them.
Okay. Not clearly like session wise. It like it will be merged, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay. Anyway, step by steps will be there, right?
yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Let's cancel this. I think it will take a lot of time. Let's compile only the relevant data and not the whole database. Okay. So I don't want to waste our time in compiling the database for a very long time. So I'll just compile it afterwards. So for now, we can see that we have created this process. Okay. This process is generated, and now we'll see that how it is generated. Okay. So there are two ways of generating a process. One is that one is the real time scenario where you can see that how it is done, how it will be done. And the second one is for the operations guy or the person who is doing the development. Okay. So the first way, what will happen, that if this process has to be triggered, it can only be triggered if a person has requested something from the front end and it has been approved. Once it has approved, this process will be automatically um, created. Okay, it will be automatically generated. The second way, which is used by the operations people multiple times or by the developer, like suppose I am the developer and I have developed this new process. Now I want to check that if it is working correctly or not. So that is for the developer. And for the why for the operations guy, because many of the times it will happen that due to the failure of dbq or the job queue is not available at the moment, the order is approved but yet the process is not generated or the event is not called. Okay, so in that case also, the manual process that I'm going to show you is something that the operations person needs to do. Okay, suppose the person has requested a particular order. Okay, and it has been already approved but the process was not generated. So what we'll do is we'll go to object browser. In the object browser, we'll go to the person wants org table. Okay. Over here, we will write the condition, like because we have put the condition over here that this process should only run when the process is approved, like the request is approved, order granted, and the UID person head should not be null. Okay. So these two things we'll put over here in the filter. So order state is equal to assigned. So this is the order state when the person has been assigned uh, the person whichever what is he has requested is approved. Okay, so the assigned order state would be assigned, and UID person head is not null. Okay, so we have put these two filter over here. Let's filter this out. So this gives us 16 processes there where this approval state is assigned and the UID person head is not null. Okay, so suppose this is the particular thing that I have been looking for, application developer. This was requested by this user UN Weber. Okay, now he has requested it and it has been successfully assigned. You can see the order state is assigned. Order date was 19th of 10th 2023, and it is still in the assigned state. Okay, so for this person, obviously our event can run. So we will click on the action tab over here. In the action tab, we have these events available. Okay, so we'll select the event that we have used for our process, that is the order granted. So we'll scroll up, order granted. Here it is. So we'll click on this. We again have two options, one is simulate and one is generate. So simulate will show us the options that once we generate this, what all events will be triggered, what all processes will be triggered. It will show you without actually triggering them. It will just show you that what will happen, what would be the end result. Okay, so if I click on simulate, okay, so simulation has not executed anything. That means that the thing that we have written is not yet recognized by the one identity manager system because the full compilation has not been done. Okay, let's try to do, if it is not generating in this, it will not, however, generate a process, but let me try. So if we click on the generate, what will happen? It will trigger that same process that we have just developed. Okay, so one identity has not yet recognized that process because it was not compiled properly. Okay, so we'll have to do a full compilation. So what would have happened, that this would have triggered the process over here. Okay, and you would have been seeing this process over here working. So this is about the process. Now there is one more thing that you can do from that process, that suppose you don't want it to run only on this event, you want it to run on a scheduled period of time. You want that every 6 hours this process should trigger and see that what all users are there who has this particular thing, and it should be triggered for all of them. Okay, so that is called process automation. Okay, when you want to automate a particular process, that it should run on a scheduled period of time for particular users or for particular records, that is called a process automation. So how do we do that? Is we'll click on this, we'll copy the name, or we can just leave it. We will click on this process orchestration again, and here we have this option called process automation. So we'll click on this process automation over here. Okay, and click on this add process plan button. So as soon as we click on this, you can see that we have this option available over here as name, event, and activation schedule. So let me give it as a name as PWO SA request. Okay. Now the event name I can give, the event I will have to select. Okay. Suppose I want the order granted one. So I'll select the person wants org table. So inside the person wants org table, we have these lists of event. So we'll select order granted. Okay. Now once we have selected order granted, we will select the activation schedule. So activation schedule is again the schedule that you want to apply. So suppose I apply on it daily. So what will happen, that daily you can mention the max running time also. Okay, max running time is something that for how long, suppose if there are 5,000 records that come under this. Okay, and you don't want that this process should run for continuous 10 hours or something like that to run those 5,000 records. So you can just mention the max run time as 1 hour or 2 hours. So in that period of time, whatever records it can process, it will process. Otherwise, again in the next turn, like next day, it will pick those up which are still pending. Okay, so you can just mention the max runtime. Now at the bottom here, we have something called condition. So this condition is something that is required to be written in the SQL format. So you will be seeing a watermark also in the bottom saying SQL. Okay, this is the watermark saying SQL. So you need to put an SQL condition over here. What should exactly it look for? So we have already mentioned this over here in the filter. So just copy and paste it. Okay, so what it will do, daily it will execute this particular query on the person wants org table that order state is assigned and UID person head is not null. If there are records, like suppose currently we have 16 records, right? When we are using this query, we are getting 16 records. So what will happen that once this particular automation will execute, it will look for this query, and for those 16 records it will execute this person wants order granted event. Okay, so that is how you automate a particular schedule. So again you click on commit to database, changes one is there, and you click save. So this is the way you create a process and you automate it using a schedule. Any questions on this? Guys, anything, any query, anything?
No, Binu, till now I understood. I got it.
Okay. So now once we have completed these things, I thought of working on the UNS also today, but as we have short of time, we are not going to cover UNS today. We are going to cover it tomorrow. So tomorrow, what we are going to do is one thing, is that for the first hour, I will ask you all to log into this particular free web session. Okay, and I will ask you all to create a CSV connector or AD connector. Okay, from scratch, and we'll see that if you are facing any challenges or anything, we'll work on those things. Okay, so the first hour will be dedicated to you, where you will be creating it on your own. Okay, on your web machines. Now the last thing that I will be teaching today is about the change label. So as we have saved everything in the change label, what is the use of change label? So suppose I am being the developer. Okay, I have worked on this part, that I have created a new process or I have created a new script, and I have done a lot of changes to particular things, and I have saved all those changes to this change label. Now, because of the fact that obviously the changes are done on the dev environment and you need to move it to the higher environments like UAT, stage, or prod. So in that case, what you'll do is you'll save the changes on your change label, and then you will create a deployment package for that. Okay, that is called a transport package, TP. So a transport package is created. Then we have a tool called transporter. So that transporter tool is used to move the changes from one environment to another environment. Okay, so that is how we migrate the changes from lower to higher environments. So let's see what our change label says. So if you have already created a change label, okay, and you are unsure that there might be few things that have not been added to it, or there are few things that are extra that you need to remove. Okay, so what you can do is you go to database again, click on change management, and over here you select your change label, changes one. So when you will select it, you will see all the changes that you have saved in this change label. Okay, you can just double click on any of them and you will able to see that what has been changed: the generating condition, the name, UID dialog, table UID dialog change, So whatever you have changed will come over. Even in the scripts also, if you have added a new script or you have done changes to the existing script, that will also come over here, and you will be able to see what changes have been done in that script. Okay, this is the job. Whatever is the change, you can see that in the job you have made differ on error is to freeze on error true, minutes to defer to retries 3. This is something that we had added in the error handling part. Okay, so all these changes are present over here. Now if you are unsure that like you have to move this particular change, that is the job auto start part, the automation part that we have done, you are not sure that whether you should be moving it or you should be not, and you just got in confirmation that it should not be moved to the higher environment. So you can just click on it and click on this remove button. What it will do, it will remove this particular change from the change label. So if you are migrating your changes, that part of change that you did for the automation will not move to the higher environment. Okay, now if you want to add some more things over here, so you can just select the table from here. Okay, suppose active directory definitions, account definition, or any particular secondary accounts or something, secondary assignment. So you can just select that table. Once you select that table, you will get further information like administrator, domain users, everyone. You can just click over here and click the add button. So it will add this particular thing also to your change label. Okay, so this is how we manage the change labels. Now, once you have created your change label, the another important tool that comes into play is the database transporter tool. Okay, so transporter tool, what it does is that it will create a transport file for you. Okay, so how much time is left? Okay, we are already about the time. So let's discuss the transporter tool tomorrow, because transporter tool also will take 10 to 15 minutes to tell you all the options. But for now, this is the tool, the transporter tool that is used to create the transport package. So if I click over here, you can see there are three options. One is create transport file, one is import, and one is show transport file. So create transport file is something that when you are working on the dev environment and you want to create a new transport file, you will select the first option. If you are working on the UAT environment, stage environment, or prod environment, and you want to pull the changes from the lower environment, you will use import a transport file, and you will use the transport file that was created earlier using this create a transport file. Then show a transport file is something like, suppose someone else from your team has worked on a particular change and you are not sure that what changes this person has exactly created in that transport package. So you can select that transport package and click on show transport file. So it will show you what all changes, what all things have been added in that transport file. Okay, so this is about the transport file and transport packages. Tomorrow we'll continue on this topic on the transporter tool, that how we create a transport file and how we import a transport file. All right. Um, any questions on this?
Um, Abhinav, you mentioned about the channel which we created, right, for committing the database. So let's say I have committed the database and I don't want to move it further, and I want to undo the changes. So is it possible from there?
Undo the changes is something that is not possible over here. Like suppose I have created a script, I have created a process, I have created a process automation. So there are two things. If you don't want to move it to the higher environments, you can just leave it, remove it from your change label. Or else if you want to completely remove it, there is no undo thing. Undo button is not over here. You will have to manually delete that process. You will have to manually delete that script. You will have to do that manually. So there is nothing that is done automatically for the undo thing.
Okay, so deleting that channel will not delete everything.
No, no.
Uh,
So change label deletion will not do anything. It will not
oh,
delete the changes that you have made. And one more thing, important over here, that once you create a transport package out of a change label, like I created a transport package, a TP from the change label, then that change label won't appear over here. So if I go to change management and I try to search it, this changes one, it will not appear over here. The reason is that once you create a transport package out of a change label, that change label becomes locked. Okay. So if you still want that, suppose you have migrated the changes into the UAT environment, and while migration there isn't some error. The error comes that you miss to, add a particular field or something into your change label. So what you will need to do, that you come over here back, okay, and then in the object browser we have a table called dialog tag. Okay, so this is the table. So it will show you all the change labels. So you can see change one on all the existing ones. So currently it is closed is equal to false, right? As soon as you create a transport package for this will come to the true state. And if it comes to the true state, you will not be able to see it. So if you want to do the changes again to it, you will have to come to this dialog tag table and make it as true. Sorry, false again. So once you do it false, you will be able to see it again over here in the change management.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions or anything? Madhukar, Praveen, Bharat, any questions, anything?
Nothing from my end.
Nothing from my end.
Okay. So tomorrow, as we discussed, that tomorrow we will be, the first hour will be for you guys. So where you will be creating either a CSV connector or a AD connector, based on whatever you want. Okay, and then we will be discussing on the transport. Okay, transporter tool. We'll be discussing on the unified namespace, about the custom configuration, like custom connectors, how we develop the custom connectors, how we set up the custom connectors. So that is something that we are going to discuss.
Okay,
Okay, so if we are all good, then we can just round up the call. And thank you guys.
sure. Thank you, Vinod.